She doesn't come when you call her. She sits in the doorway, watching, and then, without any obvious reason, she crosses the room, steps onto your lap, and stays. Not your partner's lap, yours. Not the person who feeds her every morning, yours. And you feel it? That specific, slightly smug satisfaction of being chosen by a creature that answers to no one. But here's the question nobody asks out loud. Did she actually choose you? Or did something else happen that you're misreading as preference? Because researchers who study feline behavior have started pulling this apart. And what they've found is that your cat's attachment isn't random, isn't arbitrary, and isn't just about who opens the cans. It's a system. And once you understand how it works, you'll never watch your cat enter a room the same way again. Here's the thing most cat owners won't say in public. Being chosen by your cat feels different from being chosen by a dog. A dog's love is loud and universal and directed at basically everyone who has ever held a treat. Your cat's attention feels earned, specific. And when it goes to someone else, when your cat walks past you to sit with your partner, your flatmate, your guest who's allergic and mildly annoyed by the whole situation, it stings in a way that's genuinely hard to explain. You won't say anything, you'll just notice. Most of what you'll find online says the same things. Cats bond with whoever feeds them. Cats prefer women because of vocal pitch. Cats don't really bond at all. Some of that is grounded in something real. None of it is the interesting part. The interesting part is what we can now observe happening inside a cat's nervous system when they're deciding whether you're worth their time. Your cat is not indifferent. That's the first thing to understand. For a long time, the scientific assumption was that cats were semi-solitary, tolerating humans for resources, forming nothing that resembled genuine attachment. Then, in 2019, a team at Oregon State University led by Kristen Vitale ran a study that quietly dismantled that assumption. They used the strange situation protocol, the same test developmental psychologists use to measure attachment in human infants. A cat enters an unfamiliar room with their owner. The owner leaves, a stranger enters, the owner returns. Researchers watch what the cat does. In securely attached infants, the return of the caregiver reduces distress. The child uses the parent as a safe base and begins exploring again. In the Oregon study, 64.3% of cats showed the same pattern. When their person came back, stress behaviors dropped. They reoriented toward exploration. They used their owner as a base to move from. Your cat isn't failing to bond. They may be bonding in a way that's harder to read. But secure attachment doesn't explain selection. It explains depth. The question is still why your cat's attachment lands on one person and not another. And that's where it gets specific. The first thing your cat is tracking is behavioral consistency, not affection, consistency. A 2020 study published in Frontiers in Veterinary Science looked at the relationship between owner interaction style and feline attachment. What they found wasn't about how much owners loved their cats, it was about how readable they were. Cats oriented most strongly toward owners who were predictable. Same routines, same tone, same response patterns. A person who reacts the same way most of the time becomes the person your cat's nervous system files under legible. And for a cat, legibility is safety. Safety is everything. There's a layer cats add that dogs don't. Cats actively negotiate the terms of the interaction. A 2003 study by Claudia Edwards at the University of Southampton found something that seemed obvious until you thought about it carefully. Cats spent significantly more time with owners who let the cat decide when contact began and ended. Not owners who ignored them, not owners who constantly initiated. Owners who waited. The cats approached more, stayed longer, and showed fewer signs of stress when they were the ones who started the interaction. Your cat is not evaluating how much you want them. They're evaluating how much you respect their signals. Then there's the slow blink. You've probably done it without knowing what you were doing. Held your cat's gaze and blinked slowly, deliberately. Felt something pass between you. In 2020, a study by Tasman Humphrey at the University of Surrey confirmed what cat owners have suspected for years. Cats slow blink back at humans who slow blink at them more often than at neutral human expressions. And cats approach strangers who slow blinked at them more readily than strangers who maintained a neutral face. The slow blink is a signal. It says, in the language your cat is actually fluent in, I am not a threat. I am calm. You can approach. A person who does this without realizing it is sending exactly the right message without knowing why it works. Your cat also knows your emotional state, not vaguely, specifically. A 2015 study published in Animal Cognition found that cats behave differently depending on whether their owner was smiling or frowning. With a smiling owner, they were more likely to purr, rub, and stay close. With a frowning owner, they spent more time at a distance. The cats weren't responding to words, they were reading faces. And a 2021 study in Scientific Reports found that cats responded more strongly to their owner's emotional signals than to a stranger's because they've been studying you specifically. The person your cat chooses is often the person whose emotional signals they can read the most fluently, not the most affectionate person, the most legible one. I want to talk directly to some of you now because I know there are people watching this who do everything. You feed her, clean the litter, take her to the vet, sit with her when she's sick, and she still goes to the other person first. Here's what the research actually says. Preference isn't a ledger. Your cat isn't tallying effort. She's running a frequency match. Cats with nervous temperaments often orient toward the quietest presence in the house, not the most loving, the least stimulating. A more reserved person who doesn't reach for her, who just exists in a calm, boring, reliable way. That person may score higher on your cat's nervous system simply because they ask less. That's not a reflection of your bond. That's a cat protecting her own regulation. And if your cat bonded with someone else during her first critical weeks, that wiring is early and deep. You didn't fail. You may have just arrived after the template was already set. But here's what the Oregon data also shows. Attachment in cats is not fixed. Cats classified as insecurely attached could shift toward secure attachment with consistent, low-pressure, cat-initiated interaction over time. Not dramatic gestures, just showing up in a way your cat's nervous system can learn to count on. She comes back to the doorway, sits again, watches, and then she crosses the room and steps onto your lap. You used to think that was random. Now you know it isn't. She's been reading you since the day you met. Your consistency, your signals, the way you wait. And at some point, without a word passing between you, her nervous system filed you under safe. Not because you were perfect, because you were legible, because she could read you, and because of that, she chose you. That, as it turns out, is not a small thing. Have you ever noticed your cat choosing one person over another in a way that made no obvious sense? Tell me the specifics in the comments. I read them all.